Hello, Calvary Chapel, Old Town. We are finally here. We're excited to start this new project, this new idea, so we can connect with you, we can interact with you, and we can also know, as I said last week, about the ministries that we have in our church and the people that is leading these ministries. As I said also last week, we have today Pastor Rod as our first guest. So thank you for being here, Pastor Rod.
Okay, good. I'm glad we're doing this.
Yeah, this is weird, isn't it?
Well, it's good because we aren't connecting as much as we used to with all the COVID stuff.
That's true. That's true. And a lot of people now is using social media, so this is a great way to connect. Mm-hmm. So we were having pretty much a conversation, a relaxed conversation with Pastor Rod to know him, to know his ministries in the past, the stuff that are happening in our church, and maybe he has something in his mind that he may want to do in the future. We don't know. We're going to find out today. So, Pastor Robert is your name, right?
Robert is my real name. Yeah, I've been answering that question for all my life.
So this is the first question I had, because I was thinking Robert, but your nickname is Rod with a D.
Yeah.
How that work?
Well, technically it was Rod E, but my mom didn't want to do Bob for some reason, or Bobby, so.
Okay.
Yeah,
but
I've been explaining that all my life.
Okay. Well, hopefully after this you will have to explain something.
I like my name.
And your last name is Schorr, double R.
Yes, Schorr, Schorr.
Is that what?
German.
German?
Yeah.
Is actually you had to go back in your family history to?
Frederick Schorr goes back to my great-grandfather.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, came over from England, from Germany.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm not much into genealogies, but I know that much.
Okay, but that's good information though. Like, that's something that I like about American culture. We don't have that like in South America. We don't know what happened like in our background. We just know that we are Chileans. In my case, that's it.
Well, that's a good thing to be.
But I love when you guys know more about your grandfather. That's really cool. So, do you come actually from a Christian family? Your parents, your grandparents, is that?
Yeah, big time. My dad's conversion from alcoholism shook the whole family, and we all grew up under that. And I rebelled when I was a teenager, but I came back to my faith in college.
How was that? How that happened? Because I've been reading a little bit about that.
Why would I rebel?
Okay.
We all saw my dad get totally transformed as a Christian, give up his drinking. But who knows? There's the heart. There's the hardness of the human heart. I just got led astray by people, friends and stuff, or by myself. But I came to the Lord when I was in college, and kind of a long story, but I've shared my testimony quite a few times with, somebody challenged me to read the Gospel of John, and because I was a literature major, and he said, well, certainly you've read the most influential book ever written, right? And I kind of had to admit, no, I really haven't read the Bible. I knew what he was trying to say because I knew he was a Christian fanatic. But so I went home and started reading the Gospel of John, and it just shook me right there.
Wow.
So that was my first encounter. Several things happened to bring me to Christ, but I gave my life to Christ at a college Bible study.
Nice.
in the living room of like a fraternity house.
Wow.
With Cheryl, and I was already married with her.
So did you actually acknowledge that there was a God at that point, or you knew that there was a God, but you were just going through hard times, or you were way on the other side?
I was trying to be skeptical of even the existence of God in my early college years, but I had these friends, they were getting into drugs, and I didn't want to do that, but they were good friends of mine, and we were all kind of avowed atheists, just a rational person,
Right.
But later on, my friends said, we're really getting into, we really want to try Satanism.
Wow.
And I was just shocked that my friends would do that, and it shook me. That was one of the first things that I began to realize is that was so weird and so uncanny that my friends were starting, first of all, rejecting God, and then embracing drugs, and then embracing Satanism. And it's just, for the first time I thought, I just knew there is such a thing as spiritual evil. And so that was the first, even before my encounter in the Gospel of John, I just began to realize, one thing I know, there's spiritual evil in the world. if my friends are going to start embracing
Yeah.
Satanism, I could see how he lured them into it with the drugs and with the skepticism and then the drugs and then the satanic
crazy.
stuff. So I distanced myself from that, but I was still just trying to be a nice, good, intellectual atheist, you know.
So I read something about you that you wrote about yourself. So I quote from you: "I was an arrogant, self-centered, cold-hearted skeptic, very proud of my intellect." Were you that bad?
Where'd you get that?
From your the website where
Don't go quoting all that stuff.
it doesn't cover your
No, that's me. Yeah, absolutely. I was very proud of being an intellectual, you know, philosopher, you know. I just very full of myself. Yeah. I worked as a supervisor in a warehouse here in Anaheim for the Thrifty Drug Company, the former company for Rite Aid. Mm-hmm. And I had a friend who had come to me for advice and asked me, like, my girlfriend's leaving me and I'm just really distraught. I don't know what to do. And here I thought, well, okay, let me see. Let me dig deep down into my existential philosophy and what I learned from Jean-Paul Sartre. And I basically just spewed out a couple of existential viewpoints to this guy. Came back the following Monday and heard that he'd shot himself with a shotgun, and it just shook me to the core. And I realized, like, I've got nothing inside of me. I've got nothing
That's
inside
still
of me.
around your 19, 20s, somewhere?
I was married with
You were
Sherilyn,
already married.
and I got married in 21, so I was about 22.
Wow.
But I'm a moral and spiritually bankrupt person.
Wow.
So that's probably what I meant when I said that.
I see. Yeah, I was like, whoa, he's hurting himself when I was reading this. Like, but
Yeah.
you know,
Well, I used to hate Christians. I used to make fun of Christians. And so I'll be preaching on conversion of Saul this next a week from Sunday. So
okay. So you guys don't want to miss that preaching for
strikes
sure.
a chord with me.
But you're an interesting man, Pastor Rod. I had to say, when I knew that you like to ride your motorcycle, like I'm gonna move you to another aspect. Like I was surprised to know all this about you. You like to ride a motorcycle, which it puts you in my cool pastor category.
That's what I'm trying to do.
Okay?
I'm trying to be really cool.
Yeah, you know, you
when
are
you're
cool.
70 years old, you get desperate. You know?
So then I read that you like to fly. I don't know if you have a license to fly or
Yeah, I've got my pilot's license.
that puts you on my awesome list.
Oh,
that the people
really?
is awesome.
Well, when I was 60, I was making this. I was convalescing. I had the flu or something. I'm making a model airplane, and it was a really neat P1. I can't remember what it was now. P61, I think it is, called the Black Widow. And I was making it. I thought, you know, I've lived 60 years and I don't know how to fly. You know, it's like, what? I should get this. I should do this. And so I told Sherilyn, I think I want to learn how to fly. And so,
What did she say?
oh, she thought it was crazy, but I had saved a little money, and so I took a few lessons, and I really liked it. So I got my license a couple years later.
Nice.
So it was fun.
See, I'm having a
neat.
hard time to convince Holly to let me ride a motorcycle. I'm still on that point. So
Well, it's because your kids. See,
Yeah.
Sherilyn lets me go now because our kids are all raised and gone. So
I see.
probably may be part of it. So
I'll-
I'm not going to get into that battle with you. I'm not going to turn against Holly.
Yeah, no, I get it.
But don't give up.
I'll keep praying. Huh? But something that really, I saw you in a video not too long ago. I think that was when all this COVID thing started. You were playing cello, and that was the thing that I was like, okay, he's like, Pastor Roy is the most interesting man ever, because cello is one of my favorite instruments, and I would love to learn at some point.
Yeah.
So how you end up playing cello? Like, you've been playing for a while, or?
Yeah, I've been playing for a long. Well, you know, I like to say the hardest part of the cello is the sawing part, where you
Okay.
saw.
Uh-huh.
You know, and that's my joke. Because I don't play well. I don't have good tone. I just like to do it. You know, and it's gotten a little better.
Okay, cool.
But you know, when we were over in Taiwan, Sherilyn bought me a cello for Christmas. It was a cheap Taiwan cello. It wasn't real great quality tone, but that's my excuse. And I played it and sawed away on that thing for a couple of years. And then one day we went to the kids' school for parent-teacher night in Taipei, and we walked by the music room, and they had a wonderful cello teacher there, and he was playing with the cello, and Sherilyn goes, "What is that instrument?" And she'd been listening to me for 2 years. "What is that instrument?" And I'm going like, "That's a cello."
That's the way it's
And
supposed
she goes, "Oh."
That's
Just
pretty
like,
cool.
it was pretty embarrassing. But I'm trying to learn nice tone, and it's not going real well.
But it's, I mean, I bet it works good for you, you know, how you, is the word distress, like to,
Yeah.
yeah?
Yeah, it's nice. And you know what? The cello is it's like tennis strokes or golf strokes. The cello, the bowing is very hard to do properly and put a nice tone in. And it's a good test of your emotional well-being. And when I feel really good and just feel a sense of well-being, I play kind of nice.
Right.
Other times when I'm nervous or agitated or something's going on with me, I could squawk away on that thing, and it's like, well, I'll give up on this today. It's like, it's kind of an indicator of how you're doing emotionally.
Is that when the wife go for a walk?
She does tend to do that, yeah. No, I play hymns for her, and those sound kind of nice. And she loves that, so.
Nice.
My neighbors hear it, so.
Cool.
And last year on Good Friday, I took the cello down to the pool in our compound. We're in this mobile home park.
Uh-huh.
And I just played on the pool deck some hymns to the Lord on Good
Oh,
Friday.
beautiful.
And a couple of neighbors came out and listened, and it made me really nervous that I have very bad performance anxiety with the cello.
Uh-huh.
I can't play it all if anybody's listening, really, but they listened, and I did okay with that. It sounded pretty good, so.
That's really cool. Before I forget, if you are there watching this live right now, we encourage you to leave a comment. Let us know that you're there. But also if you have a question for Pastor Rod, if we had time at the end, we will read some of those questions. So this is where you participate. This is where you connect with us. Leave a question for Pastor Rod, even a comment if you want to. So either you're on YouTube or on Facebook.
Yeah, but don't ask me anything I can't answer.
Let me move you a little bit now to your 17 years of ministry in Taiwan. It was a 17.
Yeah.
17 years of how you end up in Taiwan? Did you plan that, or it was something?
You know, before I even became a Christian, I was getting really infatuated with Chinese things, the Chinese language, Chinese literature, and I was studying it on my own. And then I started studying the language on my own. I bought a Yale University tape series, and back then it was tapes, and studied that. And my school at Cal State Fullerton, they had a linguistics level class of Chinese, which is not really adequate, but I got their materials and studied that. And so I was studying Chinese before I even became a Christian.
Oh, wow.
So I often tell people that the language is so hard to learn that God got me started early before He even saved me. But anyway, so when I became a Christian, I was still real interested in Chinese literature and Chinese culture and stuff, and I just started getting focused on reaching the Chinese, you know. So we met a missionary couple who came through our church, and they were at Christ College in Taiwan, and that's how we got introduced to going out there. And so at the age of 27, for me, Sherilyn was 24. We just packed up and took off with our 2 kids.
2 kids already.
Yeah, we went to Christ College in northern Taiwan, right at the northern tip, and taught English there. It was a really good Christian school. It's kind of like an outreach college where we invite non-Christians to come, but the rules are strict. You have to go to chapel and hear the gospel, and that's required. And it's a kind of interesting way of doing it. It's an evangelistic college.
That sounds good.
But it was good experience. And we stayed there about, 1977 to 1980, I can't remember, 88 I think it was. And then 6 more years with the Hakas.
So kids, when kids came back, they were already adults, over
Well,
18 at least.
We came back on furloughs. They were 1 and 3 when we went.
Okay.
The kids were 1 and 3.
So when they came back, they were over 18 already. You were,
Well, yeah, but we had come home for furloughs.
I
Every
see
4
what you're
years
saying.
we'd come back or so.
okay, I
Yeah.
see. So the adjustment wasn't that hard, or was still
Well,
that cultural
we
tension?
put them in a Chinese, we put them in a Chinese preschool just to get them acculturized, you know, and it was a little traumatic for them. I kind of thought maybe we shouldn't have done that. All the Chinese kids kept putting their fingers in their eyes, touching their eyes, because their eyes look so different, you know.
Oh,
And James would come home and saying, well, we had cheese today for snacks. And we go, the Chinese don't eat cheese. You didn't have cheese. Yes, we did. It's like, it was tofu. But that's okay.
it's close enough.
But it was so we did that for a year. Then they started going to an international school with expatriate kids from Europe and things like that.
I see. So then you guys came back here after 17 years. Was there a cultural shock coming back?
Oh yeah. It was pretty hard on both of our kids, really. So probably just morally, you know. But
Yeah.
they did well spiritually, but it was just it was a big. That's their home. I mean,
True.
they made friends there. They had a really sweet school life with the international kids. They had friends from Finland and Norway and France and
Wow.
yeah, expatriate children, missionary
Right.
children, and ambassador children, and things like that. It was a really sweet school, and they had a good life, and they liked it. So real
Nice.
simple.
Very cool.
But they've done well here.
Tell me about a little bit what happened here when you arrived here. How you start this? Was already a group in there, or you start from zero?
Yeah.
What happened?
That's a tough question. That's kind of a painful story in a way, because when we came back here, our home sending church was in the throes of a division. They were going very hyper Calvinistic, even more than that, because I don't have a problem with Calvinism, but it was going. Greg Bonson. You ever hear of Greg Bonson? The Bonsonite movement. It was, what's the name of it? I'm blanking out now. It was a very strict, legalistic movement sweeping through the church. And the pastor of our home church was saying, either stick with me on this or get out. And so our church was getting disenfranchised, and lots of people had already left. And Dr. Didier, the founding pastor of the church, who was retired, called me and said, I want you to shepherd my people. They're scattering everywhere. Let's get them together. And I said, this is a split. I don't want to get involved in this.
Right.
No, you have to do this. He's a really dear man. And I said, I'll go one time and preach to them and see what I think, and I'll pray about it. And so we went and opened a storefront on Taft Avenue here in Tustin. And somebody who owned a storefront loaned us the building. And everybody had to bring a chair the first time, and it was announced that Rod, wasn't the pastor then, the missionary, was going to be able to have a service with anybody who had been forced to leave their church. And it was a very, very ugly thing that was going on. So,
Wow.
And so what we gathered that first Sunday, and there was 100 people there, and everybody brought their own chair. It was an empty storefront, and they were just like weeping their eyes out, just like, and I said, okay, I guess I'm going to do this. That's how we got started. So, and later on, things mended, and I remember making an announcement saying, hey, things are going better back in the home church. You're welcome to go back. But by that time, we'd already grown so much that all kinds of new people had come in with us. So we really couldn't quit and do that. So we just continued on. But things are better now with two churches.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, I didn't know that part of this,
Yeah.
of the beginning of this. So, did you ever, like, in your projection as in ministry or as a Christian, do you ever saw yourself as a pastor?
No. No. My high school friends, when I go to class reunions, they're going like, I can't believe you're a pastor, because I was probably the last person on earth who would become one. And back in those days, yeah.
What was the hard part of it? Like, why? Well, you never saw you yourself as a pastor. Was something about pastor?
Well,
Who-
I became a Christian and called by Christ, and well, the Lord, He did give me a strong desire I wanted to do something. I want to help this world somehow. Even as an unbeliever, atheist, I thought we should do something to make the world a better place.
Uh-huh.
It was just, all of that was just so misdirected at the time.
Right.
I could have embraced all kinds of crazy ideas doing that. But I did have that desire, and, I wanted to be a writer and things like that and write good things. But it wasn't an ambition of mine to be a pastor, but I was very clearly called to do it. Even as a missionary, too. I was called to be over there.
So when you come back, were you already praying to go back to Taiwan or go somewhere else as a missionary? Or
Yeah,
what was
we were going to go, to either mainland China or go on to another mission, perhaps Mongolia, because Taiwan was reached. And we had spent the last 6 years reaching an unreached people group called the Hakka. And not totally unreached, but largely unreached. There were other people doing the same thing, same group, but not where we were. But we left our church that we started there in the hands of a Hakka pastor, doing well with that. And Sherilyn's health was declining, and so we felt like, well, we probably shouldn't go back to the field, but we didn't know what we would do. And that's when Dr. Didier's phone call came.
I see.
So, but we were ready to go back to another mission field if we felt the need.
So in all these years with this church, with CCO, now it's Calvary Chapel. I met the church when
I'm
I
so
was
glad it is.
Covenant. I think it was.
Yeah, Covenant Community. Yeah.
Did it have another name before that, or
No, this is Covenant Community Church.
From Covenant to Calvary.
Yeah, when did you come? When we were over
After
Taft?
Mary No, you guys were here, but it was still Covenant.
when you married Holly,
2002,
that's right. I
2002,
remember that.
or 2004, somewhere in there.
That's right.
Yeah. So during all these years, we just went through the transition from you to be senior pastor, now to Dave to be a senior pastor.
Yep.
Is anything that you can look back, or maybe even look right now at the church and say, I wish we could have done this with the church, or reach some area, or do something different, or I don't know, something that is there that maybe you would like to do in the past, but you just didn't do it. Maybe it wasn't your plans, but not in the Lord's plan.
Oh, become a huge super church with a gigantic $45 million building. No, that's not the, oh my
Oh,
Lord.
we know your heart.
No, I think what really happened is during our time of what, 15, 20 years, we always wished we had a stronger missionary presence because we're missionaries. And so that began to be fulfilled with when Pastor Dave came along, because we had a good missions program, and I always wanted it to be strong. And I kept insisting I don't want to do 10% giving of our church's income to missions. I want more.
Yeah.
And so we always insisted on that, but we just still, I want people going out from this church to be missionaries. That's my biggest desire. I would love to see many more people go out and go to the mission field. Just get on a plane and go. We did that. We didn't know what we were getting into. We didn't know where we were going to stay the first night we arrived in Taiwan. We had no clue where we were going to stay.
Wow.
When we got in the house, there were spiders all over the walls, big spiders. They come out at night, and we were sitting there on a sofa. Someone had put a sofa in our house, and we were talking, Sharon and I. We were very tired, jet lagged. The kids were in bed. And I look up at the wall, and I say, so Sherilyn, don't look around. And it's like there were like 8 of these gigantic banana spiders sitting there. The building had been left open all summer, but they put us in there. We didn't know what we were getting into. But, man, I wouldn't change those 17 years for anything in the world.
Nice.
But so I wish more people would do that. But the truth is, Pastor Dave has done a fantastic job with the missions. And I sat him down one time and said, Dave, I want to change our mission approach. I want a missions pastor, and he's already a youth pastor, or he was handing that off, but an assistant pastor. But I want you to go to the field and hands-on find people in the country doing mission work, and we're going to support them. We're not going to support big agencies anymore. And so that's tricky because you can get deceived, you could be tricked, right? So you got to go in person and check them out, and go back in person. And
for sure.
and so Dave he took that and he flew with it, and and our missions is exciting, and even has been hurt by COVID stuff, but and the giving for missions is it just staggers my mind. We're not a rich big church,
True.
but our giving is amazing, and so it's just a blessing, and that was my biggest desire for the church, and just to do the same thing at home here. Is each Christian shares his faith. True.
We'll be having Benny come in 2 more weeks to talk about mission and give us a little more, a better idea what's happening in mission. But yeah, for sure, this is an active church, mission-wise. What are you doing right now here in Calvary Chapel, Old Town? Because it seems like you say I need to slow down, but I still see you everywhere.
Oh, I've slowed down quite a bit. I think so. Yeah, I feel like I'm going slower. Well, I'm kind of like Dave and I are co-pastoring and in the preaching part of the book of Acts. We just thought let's do that just as a nice transition, because I didn't want to just walk away and leave everything, and yet I don't want to cling to it either. So I want Dave to really get going, and he's doing really great.
Yeah.
So for that, we're both sort of co-teaching in the book of Acts, and I'm here every week. I'm helping with the newsletter articles, and I would do more visitation, but we can't even do that with.
True.
I don't get to go into hospitals at all, but I'm here to care for the congregation still, and work with Dave and help him get set up, and he's doing way more than I am now. Dave is actually a better organizer than I am. He's much more organized, and he sees needs that I don't see. I'm not a very good administrator, and so Pastor Dave's filling that gap too. So, but
not too long ago, you also have an activity with the kids. I know my girls came to play to learn how to play
chess. Oh, I want to do that more often.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I used to teach the Eagles Wings class, which was for homeschool kids.
Oh, okay.
I would love to do that again. So any parents who have kids in junior high school, maybe 6th grade, who want a literature class, I'll do it again. But got to have parents who want to do that. Yeah. And we met every Thursday, and we had a really nice curriculum. It was a rather mature literary curriculum, and it was challenging for the kids, but it was fun. We went slow, but we learned how to do some tough things in reading and writing and stuff. So I would love to do that again. But the chess day kind of reminded me of that. I love interacting with the kids, and I don't do it often enough.
And you have a pretty good turnout.
We did. It was really fun. I promise I'd do it again.
Nice.
So
yeah. Pastor Rod, how important we're gonna start landing the plane here a little bit, since you like to. We're gonna play the last note of the cello, or stop the motorcycle. I don't know. How important are the ministries in a church, and why?
They're very important. Our church is good at this. Everybody does their part, and it's exactly what the scriptures tell us to do. We're told that we're a body, and every part of the body has its own function, and I'm just really blessed by our church. I see that every ministry, even the little ones, are just, even when I go out to the donut table on Sunday and, or see things getting set up for the next prayer meeting. Every ministry is just very important, and it makes the body of Christ function properly, and it's a glory to God. And I think our congregation is just much to be commended for being faithful to God in that.
Yeah,
does that answer your question?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I was counting roughly how many ministries we have here in this church, and we have at least 20, if no more, ministries going and active right now.
Yeah.
That's not even counting the Bible studies, all the Bible studies.
Yeah.
So that's great. This is a really active church.
Yeah.
So who can lead a ministry? Who can have a ministry here?
You know,
do you have to go through a seminary or something like that?
No, I hope not. You know, because one of the things we teach in the new member class is that every member is every believer. Well, if you're not a believer unless you're a member. I mean, you're not a member unless you're a believer. But every believer is a minister, and that's kind of a unique teaching. But that's what the Bible says. You're ministers of Christ. Paul writes a general letter to his church, to every believer in the church. He's not writing to elders.
True.
And it says you are ministers of Christ, and so that's important. So, and one thing that we've always insisted on is that we don't really like dynasties in ministry. You know, like, well, this is my ministry. You know, I'm the leader of this, and I mean, we do want leaders, but we don't want them to be closed off, and we'll pick the leaders. It's important to pick good leaders, but if you want to be involved in the ministry and play an important role in the ministry, please, by all means, just let us know. We want that. So I'm not real big on spiritual gift tests and things like that. I know a lot of people do that. I feel uncomfortable with that kind of codifying the scriptures and regimenting everything in the scripture. But I mean, there's a list of spiritual gifts, and you can look through that, and that'll give you an idea of what the spiritual gifts are like. I think we should know our spiritual gifts, but I don't care for the tests too much. So and I don't really think we should tell you what you should do. You should be led by the Lord to do what you want to do.
It's funny you say that, because when I thought about this, what we're doing right now, I called Pastor Dave and I told him, Pastor Dave, I have an idea, and I explained him what was in my mind, and he said, "Well, do it."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, I just had the idea. Maybe somebody else could do it." But that's kind of like the approach that this church has.
Well, that's the way it has to be, right? I mean, somebody comes up, you know what, Pastor Rod, what we should do is this thing, and I go, well, when are you going to start? Because that's it's like, don't go telling me what we should do. It's like, if the Lord's putting that on your heart, we really want people to be led by the Spirit, and that's a good indication that it's happening.
Yep.
This is a good idea what you're doing here.
Yeah, no, and hopefully this will help us all to have a better idea of what ministries we have here in the church, and that way we can get involved in those ministries. I know there's a few ministries that need a lot of help, so this should encourage all of us as a family to get more involved.
Yeah.
Let's play a little game before we end, and before we read maybe some of the questions that they have for you on Facebook. So these are kind of classic questions. Your favorite verse of the Bible, or maybe two, if it's hard to pick one.
Oh, probably Romans 8:28, especially right now, election week. We know that all things work together for the good of those who love him, who are called according to his purposes.
Yeah, that's a good.
Yeah,
that's a good promise.
That's a really good encouragement to me right now. But I was just hearing the parts of the Messiah today too, and I don't know where the passage is from, but it's the verse that says, "Kings will come to the light of your rising." That's in Isaiah, I think, and I was thinking, what a beautiful verse that is. I could preach a sermon on that. Kings will come to the light of your rising. There's a prophecy of the resurrection, is what that is. It's an unusual way of putting it. You know, when the sun rises, it brings light, but we all know the light's in the sun.
Right.
But this is the light of your rising. So I thought that's a beautiful verse. I sort of told myself that was a favorite for just this morning.
Do you have any favorite story in the Bible, passage? Like, not just the verse, but the whole... that encourage
the stories of Daniel are the ones that always strike me the most. I love all the stories of Daniel.
Daniel's a
Yeah.
really cool man.
Yeah, Nebuchadnezzar's dream. Oh, I got saved with Nebuchadnezzar's dream.
Oh, wow.
Or not the dream, I mean Nebuchadnezzar's downfall. Yeah, so
Interesting.
I guess that's one of my favorites because it pertains to me.
And one more question. If you, let me make you a fake, you know, I guess short story. You had to go to the moon for 3 months, okay? And you can only pick one of the 66 books of the Bible that you can take with you. What book will you read for those 3 months?
I think it'd be the Gospel of Luke.
Luke?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I love that gospel.
Why that gospel in particular?
Well, it's got the most of Christ's life in it, and I think that's special to me. And just everything about the way Luke wrote the gospel, just or the Holy Spirit wrote it through him, is just beautiful, and it always moves me.
Nice.
Just read a passage today from there
Yeah.
about the widow's mite. You know.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Interesting. I usually would hear like John,
Good
the
question.
Gospel of John.
Yeah.
That's
I
cool.
I could. I thought about John first, but I know my favorite really is Luke. I've always enjoyed teaching it. I really enjoyed teaching John this last time. But Luke is, I guess it's my favorite.
Well, let's see. I don't know how to work this thing out, but there is 14 comments in here list.
Oh. Well, just pick the easy
For
ones.
some reason, I cannot see all 14.
We have 14
I only
people watching this thing?
Let's
Man,
see.
it's a huge audience.
No, we had 12, but I don't know how you open all of them. I'm not very good with this. But anyway, this Garrett Kaler and there's a love story. Brenda, may God continue
what's
to
a love
bless
story?
you. What is a love story?
No,
I'm just gonna ask him so he can let us know what is.
what is the love story? You mean Luke?
This was 10 minutes ago.
10 minutes ago.
What will be your life verse? Well, you kind of answered that one.
I think so. I
Um,
have a lot of life verses, actually.
May God continue to bless you and share and
Thank
continue
you.
to bless
That's
you many
sweet.
through
Thank
you,
you.
Brenda Carter.
Oh, is Brenda watching?
Yeah, right
Wow.
there. Now
Hey,
we
Brenda.
have Benny for Mission Pastor. I don't know why I cannot open all this. Let's see.
You have to open it?
Yeah, I'm technological challenge too.
Well,
I don't know. Let's see if I read a comment.
IT's not my forte.
Yeah. Let me try one more thing. If not, sadly, I won't be able to read all this. 16. No, I cannot open it. I don't know.
Just can you read the comments?
Yeah, we just read
Did you
4
read
of
all?
them.
Okay, thanks, guys. That's nice.
Yeah, thank you so much for
Thanks for not asking real hard questions. I couldn't have done that.
There may be questions in there, but I don't know how to open this. Maybe I had to get better in this for the next time, and we'll get to them and make sure that Pastor Rod get them if you have questions, and hopefully we'll be able to answer those when I'm a little more smart with this. But thank you so much, Pastor Rod,
Thank you.
to be with us.
It's fun.
And
Enjoyed it.
yeah, and don't miss next week. We will have Megan Schorr with us.
Oh, that'll be good.
How are you describing one word, Megan?
Megan, wow, dynamo. Yeah,
Yeah. So if you have seen somebody running around the church,
yeah.
that's probably Megan. And you probably miss her because she's like super fast.
She gets it done.
She's our children ministry leader. She will be with us next week. So
That sounds good.
tune in for that. And thank you for being with us. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.